Right here in the heart of West Africa is a country that is quietly building one of the most ambitious highways on the continent. And when it's finished, this 8-lane 332-kilometer expressway will become one of the longest modern road projects ever built in West Africa. But this story isn't really about a road. It's about a country whose geography has shaped almost everything about its economy. This is Burkina Faso, surrounded by 6 neighbors, but with one major disadvantage: it has no coastline. So every container, every imported machine, every export has to pass through another country before it reaches the sea. Just look at this. Almost everything that enters or leaves Burkina Faso depends on roads that cross other countries before reaching a port. Now ask yourself, who really controls the country's economy? Because for decades, it wasn't entirely Burkina Faso. At the center of it all is one highway, the RN1, a narrow aging road connecting the capital, Ouagadougou, to the country's commercial hub, Bobo-Dioulasso. It's one of Burkina Faso's most important transport corridors. And for years, leaders agreed on one thing: it had to be replaced. The studies were completed, the designs were approved, foreign contractors were lined up, yet somehow nothing happened. The project remained stuck on paper. Then in December 2025, everything changed. Instead of waiting for another loan, another foreign contractor, President Traoré climbed into a bulldozer and officially launched construction himself. His government made an extraordinary promise: build day and night, don't stop. Within weeks, hundreds of kilometers had already been cleared. The project became the first expressway in Burkina Faso's history. And unlike so many mega projects across Africa, this one is being financed with country's own gold revenues. But here's the bigger question: can a country build its way out of economic dependence? Or is Burkina Faso taking a gamble that could reshape its future, for better or for worse? By the end of this video, you understand why this highway could become one of the most important infrastructure projects. To understand why this road matters so much, you need to understand Burkina Faso's biggest problem: geography. Burkina Faso, a country of over 20 million people in the heart of West Africa, has no coastline. Every container it imports, almost every ton of cotton and gold it exports, has to travel hundreds of kilometers by road to ports in other countries: Abidjan in Cote d'Ivoire, Tema in Ghana, Lomé in Togo, Cotonou in Benin. For a landlocked country, roads are not a convenience, they are the economy's oxygen supply. And the most important artery of all is a road called the RN1, National Road 1. It connects Ouagadougou, the political capital, the Bobo-Dioulasso, the country's second city and the commercial hub, before continuing towards the Ivorian border and the port of Abidjan. This single corridor carries trade not just for Burkina Faso, but for its landlocked neighbors, Mali and Niger too. Here is the problem: the RN1 is a 2-lane road with origins in the colonial era. The 355-kilometer journey between the two cities takes anywhere from 4.5 to 6 hours, depending on the potholes, the checkpoints, and the traffic. Some stretches around towns like Boromo and Honde are so degraded that drivers are advised to bring 4-wheel drive. Zoom out and the picture gets starker. Of Burkina Faso's roughly 15,000-kilometer national road network, only about 4,000 meters are paved, barely a quarter. Every hour, a truck sits on a broken road. The cost of everything in the country goes up: fuel, food, cement, medicine. Slow road quietly tax the entire economy. Burkina Faso has known this for decades. In fact, it has been trying to fix this exact corridor for more than 20 years. So the obvious question is, why did it take so much time? The idea of an expressway between Ouagadougou and Bobo-Dioulasso was first floated back in the 2000s. It was meant to be one section of a grand regional corridor, an expressway running all the way from Ouagadougou through Bobo-Dioulasso and Banfora to the Ivorian border and onto Yamoussoukro and the port of Abidjan. Roughly 600 kilometers of expressway inside Burkina Faso alone. For years, it moved the way big African road projects usually move: slowly and mostly on paper. By 2021, under President Roch Marc Christian Kabore, Burkina Faso's civilian leader before 2022 coup, the government had completed a detailed engineering studies for the Waka Bobo section, paid for with 2.7 billion CFA from the state budget. For construction money, it looked abroad to China. In 2023, the government signed a memorandum of understanding with the China Civil Aviation Construction Corporation, CCECC, one of China's giant state-owned builders, the same family of companies behind railways and highways across Africa. And then the road still didn't get built because then Burkina Faso had changed. Two coups in 2022 brought Captain Traoré to power, a soldier in his mid-30s who expelled French troops, pulled the country closer to its Sahel neighbors Mali and Niger, and made one idea the center of everything: sovereignty. Do it yourself, pay for it yourself, own it yourself. Under that logic, waiting on foreign contractors and foreign loans wasn't just slow, it was the problem itself. So in December 2025, when construction finally began, the announcement came with a twist almost nobody predicted. There was no CCECC on site, no foreign builder at all. The state would build its first expressway with its own machines, its own engineers, and its own money. Which raises the obvious question: where does Burkina Faso suddenly find the machines and the money to build an expressway? The answer starts with the name, Faso Mebo. Faso Mebo is a presidential initiative created decree in October 2024. The words come from More and Diola, two of Burkina Faso's national languages, and they mean roughly build the country. Its mission is exactly that: paving roads, upgrading cities, building public infrastructures, using local labor, local materials, and citizen contributions instead of foreign aid. In March 2025, the government handed Faso Mebo its first weapon, a fleet of more than 900 heavy machines, bulldozers, excavators, graders, rollers, dump trucks, and concrete mixers, part of an equipment program valued at around 200 billion CFA. The stated target was staggering: pave between 3,000 to 5,000 kilometers of road every single year. But here is the part that makes Faso Mebo genuinely unusual. It runs partly on donations, not from the foreign government, from Burkinabe citizens. Churches have donated cement, ministries have donated granite, solar street lamps. In the town of Kaya, a group of 118 children aged 17 to 15 pooled their pocket money to buy 5 bags of cement for the initiative. Members of the African diaspora visiting Ouagadougou deliver 23 tons of cement and then put on work clothes to help make paving stones themselves. By January 2026, Faso Mebo had grown so large that the government converted it into a full public agency with its own budget, planning authority, and recruitment drive. Hundreds of engineers, drivers, machine operators, mechanics hired in waves through early 2026. For its first year, Faso Mebo is proving itself on the streets of Burkina Faso cities. Then in December 2025, it was handed the biggest civil engineering project in the country's history. An agency barely a year old, a workforce that had never delivered an expressway, and a 332 kilometers of savanna between them and the finish line. So what exactly are they building? The specification is ambitious by any standard: a dual express carriageway with 4 lanes in each direction, 8 lanes in total, running 332 kilometers inside a right-of-way 100 meters wide, 9 two-level interchanges with toll plazas, 28 overpasses to carry an existing road and tracks it crosses, and 1 underpass at the approach to Bobo-Dioulasso, a design speed of 140 kilometers per hour outside urban areas. If it is delivered as designed, the journey between Burkina Faso's 2 biggest cities drops from up to 6 hours to roughly 2.5 hours. At launch, President Traoré made 2 things clear. First, the state will fund it with a minimum of 200 billion CFA francs, about $357 million, written in the 2026 budget as first allocation. Second, there will be no formal deadline. It's exact instruction. The works must never slow down. Crews will operate day and night around the clock. That sounds like a political theater. Then the numbers started coming in. The first phase was clearing, stripping the vegetation, root, and topsoil from the full 332-kilometer route across the entire 100-meter width. The president set a target of 15th of February 2026, 2 months. Faso Mebo split the route into 4 work posts, put more than 100 bulldozers on the corridor, and ran shifts through the night. By the 25th of January, 232 kilometers were done, over 70%. By the 5th of February, the entire route was cleared, 10 days ahead of the target. By April 2026, the project had moved into phase 2, earthworks, cut and fill compaction, borrow pit, and drilling boreholes along the route. Because the Sahel, even the water to build a road has to be found first. Now, a note of honesty, clearing bush is the easy part of an expressway construction. The hard part is what comes next. Engineer, embankments, drainage that survives the rainy season, pavement layers that hold up under fully loaded trucks, and the 9 interchanges worth of structural concrete. No one outside Burkina Faso can yet say whether Faso Mebo can deliver those to standard. But the speed of that first phase did something important. It made the country believe the road is actually coming. And belief matters because this project rests on a single volatile foundation. To see it, you have to follow the money into the ground. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's biggest gold exports, ranked 4th on the continent by industry analysts. Gold makes up roughly 70% of the country's export. It is by a wide margin the only pool of money large enough to fund a self-financed expressway program. For decades, most of the gold was dug up by foreign companies, Canadian, Australians, under contracts that left state with a small minority stake. Since 2022, Traoré's government has been tearing that model up. In 2004, a new mining code raised the state's automatic free stake in the mining project. That August, the government nationalized 2 industrial mines, Bongo and Wanyun, for around $80 million, a fraction of the $300 million their sale had been valued at just a year earlier. It created a state mining company called Faso Mebo to hold and operate national mining assets. By the end of 2025, 6 of the country's 15 industrial gold mines were majority Burkinabe owned, 3 of them controlled directly by the state. In December 2024, the country unveiled its first domestically produced gold bars. It is building its first gold refinery, and for the first time in its history, it is assembling a national gold reserve. This is what betting everything actually means. The expressway, the 900 machines, the 200 billion franc annual allocation, the whole self-build model runs on the state capturing more of its gold wealth and spending it at home instead of servicing foreign debt. When it works, the logic is beautiful. Gold prices have been strong. Revenue once flowed to shareholders in Toronto and different parts of the world now buys bulldozers in Ouagadougou. The country keeps the asset, the jobs, and the skill, but a bet is still a bet. If the gold prices fall, the money for the asphalt falls with them. If nationalization scares off the foreign investment that still runs most of the country's mine, production itself could slip. And all of it is happening in a country fighting a long-running insurgency that has made part of its own territory unreachable. A war that competes with every bulldozer for the same national budget. Burkina Faso is spending its own gold on concrete, pinning the outcome on speed, finishing the road before the money or the moment runs out. The Ouagadougou Expressway was never meant to be one road. The government's stated ambition is to connect all of Burkina Faso regional capitals to each other with expressway or dual carriageways. A second project, the Ouagadougou-Yako Road, has already been upgraded from a standard road to a 2x2 lane highway so it can plug into the future network. And the Ouagadougou corridor itself is the first section of the roughly 600-kilometer route to the Ivorian border, the missing half of an expressway that Côte d'Ivoire has been building towards from its own side. if the network is completed, Burkina Faso stops being a dead end on the map of West Africa and becomes what its geography always suggested it could be, the crossroad of the Sahel, the transit floor for Mali, Niger, and everything moving between the desert and the sea. Whatever happens to the Alpha, something else is already being built. A state agency with thousands of trained operators, engineers, and mechanics. A population that has watched school children, churches, diaspora visitors physically contribute to a national project. A generation of Burkinabe who have been, for the first time, expressway rise out of their own soil, cleared by their own machine, funded by their own gold. 20 years of studies, memorandum, and foreign negotiation produced 332 kilometers of paperwork. 14 months of Faso Mebo produced 332 kilometers of cleared level ground, with earthworks now underway. The tarmac isn't down yet, the interchanges exist only in drawing, the gold price, the insurgency, and the rainy season all still get a vote. But somewhere between Yimdi and Bobo-Dioulasso, there is a 100-meter wide line drawn across Burkina Faso, and a country walking through the night to fill it in. If you love definitive African infrastructure projects like this, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comment section what you think about this project. See you on the next one.